First contact fallout. The bridge of the UES Horizon hummed with quiet efficiency as Captain Elara Hayes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her dark eyes fixed on the endless void displayed on the main view screen. At 38, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had earned her command through merit and determination rather than politics. The thin scar across her left cheek, a souvenir from a mining accident on Mars, caught the blue light from the displays. "Status report, Lieutenant Parker," she said, her voice cutting through the ambient noise of the bridge. Lieutenant Thomas Parker looked up from his console, fingers still dancing across holographic displays. "All systems nominal, Captain. We've completed our survey of the Tav CD sector. Nothing unusual to report." He paused, squinting at a new data stream. "Wait, I'm picking up unusual energy readings at coordinates 100 and 93 Mark 87. Hayes moved to his station, leaning over his shoulder to examine the readings. Definitely not natural. Too regular, too precise. She straightened, addressing her science officer. "Commander Novak." Analysis. Commander Sofia Novak, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair pulled into a tight bun, manipulated her controls with practiced precision. "It appears to be some form of monitoring network, Captain. Advanced technology, not ours. The energy pattern suggests quantum-based sensors far beyond our capabilities." Hayes's expression hardened. Humanity had expanded rapidly into the stars over the past century, establishing colonies on dozens of worlds, but despite all their explorations, they had yet to encounter another intelligent species. Until now, perhaps. "How long has it been there?" she asked. "Impossible to say without further analysis," Novak replied, "but based on the dust accumulation patterns, I'd estimate at least 2 years. Hayes's jaw tightened. 2 years. Something had been watching them, studying them, for over 2 years, and they hadn't noticed until now. "Tactical alert," she ordered. "Shields up, weapons on standby." Commander Marcus Jackson, her XO and tactical officer, complied immediately. The bridge lighting shifted to a subtle amber, and Hayes felt the almost imperceptible hum as the Horizon's shield generators came online. "Should we destroy it?" Jackson asked, his deep voice calm despite the tension. Hayes considered. "No, not yet. If someone's been watching us, I want to know who and why before we give away that we've discovered their surveillance." "Captain," Parker called out, his voice tight, "I'm detecting a massive energy surge from the array." Before Hayes could respond, the view screen flickered, and an image materialized. The bridge crew fell silent, staring at the alien figure that now dominated their view. They were vaguely humanoid, but with metallic blue skin that seemed to ripple like liquid mercury. Multiple sets of amber eyes arranged in horizontal rows gazed out from a face that seemed composed more of crystalline structures than organic features. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, patterns of light pulsed across its skin. "Humans of Earth vessel," the alien said, its voice resonating with harmonics impossible for human vocal cords. "I am High Commander Krex of the Drazeri Collective. Your primitive craft has trespassed into space claimed by the Collective." Hayes stepped forward. "This is Captain Elara Hayes of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We were unaware of any territorial claims in this sector. We come with peaceful intentions." The alien, Krex, made a dismissive gesture with 4-fingered hands. "Peace is irrelevant. The Drazeri Collective has observed your species for some time. Your technological development is concerning. Your biological adaptability even more so." Hayes maintained her composure, though alarm bells were ringing in her mind. "We pose no threat to your people, Commander Krex. We would welcome diplomatic relations." "Diplomacy is inefficient," Krex interrupted. "The Collective has determined that humanity represents a potential future threat to Drazeri expansion. Therefore, you will surrender your vessel and submit coordinates for all human settlements. Your species will be relocated to a controlled environment where your development can be properly managed." The bridge fell silent. Hayes felt cold anger building in her chest. And if we refuse? The alien's skin rippled with patterns that somehow conveyed amusement. Your vessel will be destroyed as a demonstration. Then, one by one, your colonies will follow. The choice is simple: controlled existence or extinction. The screen went dark. They've severed the connection, Parker reported. Hayes turned to her crew, noting the mix of fear and determination on their faces. Options. Jackson was the first to speak. The sensor readings suggest their technology is at least a century ahead of ours, Captain. In a direct confrontation, we wouldn't stand a chance. So we don't confront them directly, Hayes replied. Commander Novak, what did you make of their surveillance network? The science officer had been analyzing data throughout the exchange. It's impressive but specialized, designed to detect conventional energy signatures, fusion drives, matter/antimatter reactions, quantum communications. But there are gaps. What kind of gaps? Hayes asked, an idea forming. Their sensors seem calibrated for advanced technology. They might overlook simpler systems as irrelevant. Hayes nodded slowly, like considering a Stone Age spear harmless against power armor. Precisely, Novak confirmed. They're looking for threats that match their understanding of dangerous technology. Hayes turned to her communications officer. Specialist Chen, prepare a tight beam quantum transmission to Earth Command. Full encryption. They need to know what we're facing. It won't get through, Novak warned. The Drazeri will detect and block quantum communications. Then we use something older, Hayes decided. Prepare a message drone with conventional radio transmission. Old tech, low power, something they might dismiss as background noise. As her crew hurried to comply, Hayes stared at the view screen, now showing only stars again. Somewhere out there, the Drazeri were preparing to make good on their threat. Chief Engineer Rodriguez, she called over the comm. Rodriguez here, Captain, came the quick reply. How quickly can you modify our shield emitters to create a targeted electromagnetic pulse? There was a pause. An EMP. That's ancient technology, Captain. Practically prehistoric. Exactly. And sometimes the oldest weapons are the ones your enemy forgets to defend against. Understanding dawned in Rodriguez's voice. I'll need at least 2 hours to reconfigure the emitters without taking our shields offline. You have one, Hayes replied. The next 60 minutes passed in intense preparation. The message drone was launched on a trajectory away from the likely approach of the Drazeri, broadcasting its warning on old-fashioned radio frequencies. Meanwhile, the horizon prepared for battle against an enemy with vastly superior technology. Multiple vessels approaching at high speed, Parker called out. Configuration unknown, but their energy signatures matched the surveillance array. On screen, Hayes ordered. The view screen showed 3 ships, each at least twice the size of the horizon. They moved with an eerie grace, their hulls shifting and reconfiguring as they approached, like liquid metal flowing into optimal combat formations. They're scanning us, Novak reported. Intensive scans penetrating our outer hull. Hayes nodded to Jackson. Activate Defense Protocol Omega-7. Throughout the ship, crew members initiated the unusual strategy they had prepared. Power systems cycled down to minimal levels. Weapon systems appeared to go offline. To the Drazeri sensors, the horizon would appear to be experiencing catastrophic system failures. They're slowing their approach, Parker reported. I think they believe we're having technical difficulties. Good, Hayes said. Let them think we're crippled. Rodriguez, status on the EMP emitters. Ready on your command, Captain, the engineer's voice replied. But I should warn you, we'll only get one shot before they adapt. Then we make it count. The comm system crackled, and Krex's voice filled the bridge once more. Human vessel, your primitive systems appear to be failing. This is the inevitable result of inferior technology. Prepare to be boarded. Hayes gave a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. Now, Chief Rodriguez. The horizon shuddered slightly as the modified shield emitters fired a concentrated electromagnetic pulse at the lead Drazeri vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the alien ship's elegant movements faltered. Its shifting hull froze mid-configuration, sections of it darkening. "Direct hit," Jackson reported, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. "Their main systems are offline." "All power to engines," Hayes ordered. "Bring us alongside the disabled vessel. Prepare boarding teams." The crew stared at her in shock. "Captain," Jackson questioned. "They expected us to surrender or die," Hayes explained. "They didn't expect us to fight back, and they certainly didn't expect us to board them." She stood, adjusting her uniform. "I'll lead the boarding party myself. Commander Jackson, you have the bridge." As she strode toward the turbolift, Hayes felt the weight of what she was about to do. Humanity's first contact with an alien species was about to become humanity's first interstellar conflict, but the Drazeri had given them no choice. As the boarding team assembled in the shuttle bay, Hayes addressed them briefly. "Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every human settlement, every colony, Earth itself. The Drazeri believe us to be primitive, inferior. Let's show them just how dangerous primitive humans can be when backed into a corner." The team, a mix of security personnel, engineers, and scientists, nodded grimly. "Remember," Hayes continued, "our objective is intelligence gathering. We need to understand their technology, their weaknesses. We disable. We don't kill unless absolutely necessary." As the boarding shuttles launched toward the disabled Drazeri vessel, Hayes couldn't help but wonder if humanity was ready for this. Ready or not, first contact had happened, and it had immediately turned hostile. The Drazeri had made a critical error. They had dismissed humans as primitive, unworthy of respect or diplomacy. They had threatened extinction without considering that even the most primitive creatures will fight with unexpected ferocity when their survival is at stake. And humans were far from primitive. As the shuttles approached the alien vessel, Hayes knew this was just the beginning. The Drazeri thought they were dealing with an insignificant species they could bully into submission. They were about to learn otherwise. The human response. The boarding shuttle clamped onto the Drazeri vessel with a metallic thunk. Hayes checked her pulse pistol one final time before nodding to the security team. The airlock cycled open, revealing the alien interior, a curved corridor with walls that seemed to pulse with faint bioluminescence. "Atmosphere is breathable," Novik confirmed, studying her handheld scanner. "Gravity slightly higher than Earth standard." Hayes took the first step onto the alien ship, immediately struck by the sensation of walking on something almost alive. The floor had a slight give to it, like compressed moss. "Stay alert," she ordered. "Rodriguez, start analyzing their systems. I want to know how to control this vessel if possible." Chief Engineer Rodriguez, a stocky woman with calloused hands and a perpetual frown, knelt beside what appeared to be an access panel. "Fascinating," she murmured. "It's not mechanical or electronic, at least not as we understand them. More like biotech integrated with quantum computing." The team moved cautiously through the corridors, encountering surprisingly little resistance. The few Drazeri crew members they did find appeared disoriented, their skin patterns flickering weakly. Apparently, the EMP had affected them physically as well as disrupting their ship systems. "Captain," Novik called softly, gesturing toward an open chamber. "I believe this is their command center." The room was dominated by a central pillar of what looked like liquid crystal, surrounded by stations where Drazeri officers lay slumped at controlled surfaces that seemed grown rather than built. At the center stood a larger figure, High Commander Krex, based on the distinctive pattern of iridescence across its skin. Unlike the others, Krex appeared partially recovered, its multiple eyes focusing on Hayes as she entered. "Impossible," the alien commander said, its voice now lacking the smooth translation of before, coming out as a series of clicks and whistles partially interpreted by Hayes' own translator. "Primitive weapons should not affect Drazeri technology." Hayes approached confidently, keeping her weapon ready but not aimed directly at the alien. That's your fundamental error, Commander. You assumed primitive meant ineffective. A Stone Age spear can still kill if it finds a gap in the armor. Commander Novak had moved to one of the control stations, interfacing her equipment with the alien technology. Captain, I'm accessing their database. The information here, it's staggering. Hayes kept her eyes on Krex. What are we looking at? It's a full invasion plan, Novak replied, her voice tight with tension. They've mapped every human colony, every outpost. They've been studying us for years, categorizing our weaknesses. She looked up, her face pale. This isn't just about the horizon. They plan to subjugate all of humanity. Hayes felt cold rage building inside her. Why? What threat could we possibly pose to you? Krex's skin rippled with what might have been disdain. Not what you are, what you could become. Our predictive models show a 78% probability that humans will achieve technological parity with the collective within 3 centuries. Unacceptable risk. So you decided to eliminate that risk, Hayes said flatly. Containment is more efficient than destruction, Krex replied. Your species has adaptability that could be useful if properly harnessed. As slaves, you mean? The alien made no response, which was answer enough. Hayes turned to Rodriguez. Can you access their communication system? We need to warn Earth. The engineer was already working at another console. I think so, Captain, but there's a problem. Their fleet is already deploying to key human outposts. Even if we warn Earth now, there's no way conventional defenses could stop them. Hayes' mind raced, considering and discarding options. What about their weapons systems? Can we control them? Rodriguez shook her head, not directly. They're too integrated with Drazeri biology. But, she paused, eyes lighting up with the spark of inspiration. Their ships communicate through quantum entanglement. If we could modify the signal, we could send false commands to the fleet. Novak finished, catching on immediately. Hayes nodded. Do it. Buy us time. As the two officers worked, Hayes turned back to Krex. You made a serious miscalculation, Commander. Yes, humans are technologically behind the Drazeri. But you know what happens when you back a less advanced species into a corner. They get creative. The alien's skin flickered with what might have been concern. Your resistance is futile. Even if you escape this vessel, the collective will hunt you down. Maybe, Hayes acknowledged. But humans have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. You're about to learn what that means. Captain, Rodriguez called out. We've done it. We issued recall commands to the fleet using Commander Krex's authentication signature. Novak looked up from her console. I've downloaded their tactical database, colony locations, fleet deployments, weapons specifications. Everything we need. Hayes nodded. Good work. Now, let's make sure they can't follow us immediately. She turned to her security chief. Lieutenant Wei, plant the EMP devices as we discussed. The security officer nodded and dispatched her team to strategic locations throughout the Drazeri vessel. Krex's skin patterns intensified. What are you doing? Buying time, Hayes said simply. You came to our space, threatened our existence, and expected us to just roll over and accept extinction or enslavement. That was your second mistake. Your first was underestimating humans. The team worked quickly, placing small devices, modified from the Horizon's shield emitters, at key points throughout the ship. When they returned to Earth, engineers would study the alien technology, find its weaknesses, prepare defenses. The Drazeri advantage would diminish with every passing day. Devices planted, Captain, Wei reported. Ready to detonate on your command. Hayes nodded. Back to the shuttle. We've got what we came for. As they retreated, Krex called after them. This changes nothing. The collective will still come for your worlds. Hayes paused at the doorway. You're right, Commander. But next time, "We'll be ready." She tapped her comm unit. "Hayes to Horizon. Prepare for immediate departure as soon as we're aboard." The boarding party made its way back to the shuttle, moving with purpose but not panic. As they pulled away from the Drazeri vessel, Hayes gave the order. "Detonate the EMP devices." A series of pulses rippled across the alien ship, its systems flickering and dying once more. This time, the effect would last longer, giving the Horizon time to escape. Back on the bridge, Hayes wasted no time. Plot a course to Earth, maximum speed, and prepare the data package for transmission to all human colonies along the way. "What about the Drazeri fleet, Captain?" Jackson asked. "The recall signal bought us time, but they'll figure out it was false eventually." "By then, we'll have spread the word," Hayes replied. "Every colony, every outpost will be on alert. And more importantly, we'll have their technology to study." She looked at Novak. "Tell me you found something we can use long-term." The science officer nodded. "Several things, actually. Their quantum communication system has a fundamental vulnerability. It can't distinguish between genuine and manufactured entanglement. With some work, we could essentially create a quantum virus that would cripple their entire network." Rodriguez chimed in. "And their biotech interfaces. They're incredibly advanced, but completely unprepared for primitive electronic attacks. It's like they evolved beyond certain security measures, never expecting to encounter them again." Hayes allowed herself a small smile. "Then we have a chance. Humanity just became the Stone Age tribe that somehow managed to down a fighter jet. They won't underestimate us a second time, but they won't be able to ignore us either." As the Horizon accelerated away from the disabled Drazeri vessel, Hayes gazed at the stars on the view screen. First contact had not gone as anyone had hoped. Instead of peaceful exchange, they faced a war for survival against a technologically superior enemy. But the Drazeri had made a critical mistake. They had judged humanity by its technology alone, failing to account for the qualities that had taken humans from cave dwellings to the stars in a mere eye blink of cosmic time. Adaptability, ingenuity, and the fierce determination to survive against all odds. "Send the message to Earth," Hayes ordered. "Tell them everything, and tell them we're not done fighting." The Drazeri had attacked a lone human ship, expecting easy submission. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant, a species that had perfected the art of turning disadvantage into opportunity, of weaponizing whatever came to hand, of surviving when survival seemed impossible. They had underestimated humanity. They would regret it.